Hello, my name's Danielle, and I did my book review on Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. About the author, Louise O'Neill, she grew up in Clonakilty in West Cork, Ireland, and works as a freelance journalist for a number of Irish national newspapers and magazines. She mostly covers topics such as feminist issues, fashion, and pop culture. As of 2016, she has written as a weekly columnist for the Irish Examiner. She won the Literature Award at the Irish Taylor Woman of the Year Awards 2015, Best Author at the Stellar Shine Awards 2015, and the Pracies Elite Award by Trinity College Dublin. Asking for It was a number one bestseller in Ireland and won several awards, including being named Irish Times Book of the Month in September 2015, Book of the Year at the Irish Book Awards 2015, the Honor Prize for Fiction at the CBI Awards in 2016, and the American Library Association's Michael L. Prince Honor for Excellence in Literature Written for Young Adults. Asking for It was one of the top 10 best-selling books in Ireland in 2016. Also, recently, about a week ago, she received an honorary doctorate in law from University College Cork in recognition of her work's role in bringing problematic issues to the forefront in contemporary discourse. She's written other books such as Only Ever Yours, which was her debut novel, and she has since won the Sunday Independent Newcomer of the Year at the 2014 Board Guy's Energy Irish Book Awards, the Children's Books Ireland Elise Dillon Award for First Children's Book, and the Bestsellers inaugural YA Book Prize 2015. Her other books include Almost Love and The Surface Breaks. Before I get into what the book is about, I want to give a trigger warning. This book is about rape and sexual assault and also the effects of the victims after what happened to them. Being in the military, they gave us these two annual briefings, one called SAPR, which stands for Sexual Awareness Prevention Response, and another one for Suicide Awareness. Before these briefings begin, they usually start with a trigger warning, and this allows people who are victims the chance to leave before being triggered by the conversation of rape and sexual assault. Although this is a hard topic to discuss, it needs to be talked about because it happens too often than it should. About the book. So, this is a two-part book which is split into a before and after section. The last year part, which is basically all the events that happened before the incident occurred, and then the this year, which is basically all the events that happened after what happened. It's written as a first person point of view, and you can read what the main character, Emma O'Donovan, is thinking. She is described as a beautiful, hopeful, and I would call her vain. She reminds me of Regina George in the movie Mean Girls, if you have seen that movie. Because Regina George, she's the popular girl, and she's kind of shady and mean towards her friends. So Emma is part of the popular girl group of her school in a quiet little town in Ireland. And by vain, I mean she thinks of herself as the most prettiest girl in her group. And for the most part, everyone also thinks that since a couple of the girls in her group are intimidated by her. But she hides behind her own insecurities and she's jealous of one of her friends because her friend is rich and she wishes that her family was rich also. She dreams of having a rich husband when she's older and dreams of being successful and having the perfect life. She's pretty much the opposite of her family and definitely the opposite of her mother. Her family is middle class and her mother is very lenient towards the men in her family. She sees how she treats her father and her brother with kindness and love, but her mother treats her as a person who has to do right and be perfect with no room of error. Her brother and Emma, they host a party while their parents are gone for an anniversary trip, and they invite people over from their school. She kind of had a plan that she wanted to have sex with this one guy that she had her eyes on, but at the party, he ends up having eyes for someone else. So she got kind of jealous and envious, and she ended up having sex with someone else. She did have a couple drinks before that, so after when she had sex with this one guy, they wanted to take pills. She doesn't know what the pill is, and she's kind of pressured into taking it, but she didn't want people thinking her of her as this perfect person or turning into her mother, so she ends up taking the pill. Um, After that, it kind of goes into um, her mother and father coming back from the trip and finding her passed out, almost naked, covered in blisters. She's unconscious, so they take her to the hospital, and when she's at the hospital, she becomes alert and oriented, and she's then warned by her brother to check the social media because there was horrifying graphic detailed pictures of her naked body, unconscious and surrounded by the boys who pressured her to take the pills. Um, her friends were then kind of unfriended her because they saw the pictures also, and they didn't know that she was that drunk, or that far gone. And so they labeled her as a slut or Easy Emma. So fast forward to after the event, she goes from the it girl to the Belina Toom girl when her pictures go viral, and her school counselor sees it, and she basically tells Emma that this is a case of rape and sexual assault. She denies it and tries to cover the story up so the boys won't think that she's trying to ruin their lives. After a year, the investigation is still active, and while it's still going on, she's still getting threats of ruining the boys' lives from everyone in town, and she thinks everybody is blaming her, even her own family, except her brother. Her mother and her father treat her differently, even worse than before the incident. They get into more arguments. Her father and mother are ashamed of what happened. Her father is unable to understand why she was even there in the first place and suggesting that maybe with a different behavior on her part, she might have had resulted in a different outcome, basically indicating that this wasn't the perpetrator's fault. Her mother also thinks it was her own fault that she was raped and said that the boys are good boys and everything just got out of hand. Her brother and her neighbor Connor are the only people who are fully on her side and supportive for her. Her brother doesn't believe in the rape myths that she's at fault. He believes her right away after he sees that she was unconscious and she's unaware of what happened. He is unfortunately the one who keeps finding her unconscious after 3 suicide attempts within the year from the incident. Her neighbor Connor is also trying to help her and reaches out to her even though she really responds to him. Towards the end of the book, she abruptly withdraws her complaints of the rape, and her parents are kind of happy for some reason that she did the right thing. So I chose conflict theory because it emphasizes inequalities within a society because of limited resources. The boys who committed the rape and sexual assault had more power over Emma because people naturally took their sides by influence. And since they were athletes, more people saw them as people to keep innocent. The inequalities of gender related issues, such as women's viewpoints, are silenced and considered invalid, and how women and men are scrutinized to fit a certain mold. The feminist theory, a type of conflict theory, appears to me the most in this book. In the book, the girls and boys are fitting a certain look where the girls dress up and aim to be the most chosen by the boys, and the boys are focused on sports, aiming to be chosen by recruiters who then choose them for sports in colleges, who then make more money for the entertainment industry. After the assault, people began picking sides, claiming that Emma chose to be raped because of what she was wearing at the party, and that nobody forced her to take any drugs, and boys were just being boys, and that they shouldn't be punished for what they did because they were young, and the people in the town wanted these boys to play so they could win the games. There is no way a woman or any other gender acts or dresses that says, rape me. Other reviews, I chose Jenny Sprazier, who posted in Words. She said that O'Neill offers no easy answers, especially leaves readers with plenty to think about. This powerful book begs to be discussed and will stay with readers long after they put it down. My thoughts, I thought this is an important book to read for young adults. It's an uncomfortable topic to discuss, but it needs to be discussed. I reiterate that because the more people who are aware that this is unfortunately common and ongoing problem, not just in the United States but in the world, rape is happening at alarming rates. Towards the last part of the book, the author puts her thoughts of rape culture. She says, our society may not appear to support sexual violence, but you don't need to look very far past the surface to see how we trivialize rape and sexual assault. Sexual assault, from unwanted touching to rape, is so common that we almost see it as an inevitability for women. We teach our girls how not to get raped with a sense of doom, a sense of fighting a losing battle. And she goes on to share stories of sexual assault from her friends. And she says that we share these stories with one another, and it was as if we were discussing some essential part of being a woman, like period cramps or contraceptives. And I agreed with that statement because I also have women come to me sharing their stories of their sexual assault encounters, and I've noticed that how common it is that it happens a lot within our society. I also thought this was an easy read, and when I say easy read, I mean it's something that I can remember reading as each page turned and wondering what's going to happen next when I put the book down. The monologue also is exceptional because you can almost make up how each scene is happening through the words of the author. Resources. So, like I keep saying, is that we should keep talking about it. Um, there is one website called RAIN.org, which stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and its mission is to prevent sexual violence, help survivors, and ensures that perpetrators are brought to justice. In my other classes, I tend to pick topics related to feminism, and I always want to make sure women know what kind of resources are out there for help. This website also shares statistics, tips on how to help, state laws that will protect you, and tips on how victims can cope with cases going public. Another resource is kind of like a Red Table Talk. It's an online magazine that has many easy read articles about feminism. Feminism is to help women become equal with males in society. These magazine articles help to explore different topics of feminism, such as sexual violence, oppression, racism, and everyday situations that come across as negative. The individuals on there kind of just express their experiences they witnessed and how they overcame. The next resource is a YouTube video, which is a TED Talk from Lydia Ward about sexual abuse. She kind of goes over the myths and debunks them. And one of them is that sexual abuse is carried out by strangers. In the book, this was false because Emma was sexually abused by classmates she went to school with, and she eventually felt bad because she thought these were her friends. With the, if anything, sexual abuse carried out by strangers seems to happen way less than by people we see every day. The last source is a social media blog, which is on Instagram. This source might help the younger individuals learn more about sexual violence. It's filled with phrases and quotes to either heal or retrieve information in ways that most younger can find necessary. Celebrity survivors also tell their stories via social media, which can help the younger individuals talk to someone about what happened without the fear of shame or embarrassment. And that's the end of my review. Thank you.